Who's ready to get a little bit better? If so, comment yes in the comments right now. I'm ready. I'm so ready to get a little bit better. It's kind of a commitment that I've made every day of my life because if you're not growing, you are dying. So we're going to get better. We're going to learn a little bit more. Heard another quote. It was just a different take on that. If you're not learning, you start dying. The other one I heard was recently, actually, I read it in a book, and it said, hey, if you stop growing, you're old, whether you're 20 or you're 80. If you start learning, if you stop learning and growing, you're old. Let's not be old. Let's get younger right now by learning a little bit. Okay, so question, like we've dealt with this question on a couple different topics. What's the big deal about morning routine? What's the big deal? I think we talked about meditation or journaling. Let's talk about one more of those. What's the big deal about visualization? Visualization. What's the big deal about that? And here's why people ask this question is because people talk about it all the time, but like, what am I supposed to say? And like get a picture in my head. Does that stuff work? I mean, that's kind of woo-woo-y. Like, what's the big deal about visualization? And so I'm not going to do a metaphysics lesson today. In the book we just released that I co-authored, there literally is a whole chapter about the physics of creation. I'll probably talk about that a little bit more, deeper dive in another video in the future. But literally, point number one, what is the big deal about visualization? It is this. Number one, our thoughts create. Our thoughts create. Literally, your thoughts create energy. Your words create energy. Your thoughts create energy in the form of vibration that goes through space. Your thoughts create. They produce. Reading a book by David Oyedepo that is like amazing book. It's called something about towards mental exploits. It is all about the mind and the power of the mind and several things. I'll quote him several times in the course of this video because I'm learning, I'm growing, just like you should be, just like you are. That's why you're watching this video. Our thoughts create. And in this book, he makes a statement. He says, you cannot think one thing and produce another. You can't think one thing and produce another. I shared this funny illustration. I was walking my dog the other day and I'm going through a neighborhood and I look over and there's this house, nice lawn. And on the front door, they have a plaque that says welcome. And on the windowsill, they got another plaque that says welcome. And then you keep looking and on their garage door, there's a big red and black, no trespassing sign. Let me tell you something. What are they creating? Like they are in conflict. You're welcome, but no trespassing. People aren't going to feel welcome there because they can't speak words. They can't speak one thing and get another thing. So people aren't going to feel welcome there, unfortunately. Maybe I'll knock on their door one day and tell them that. Probably not. You can't think one thing and produce another, but your words do create. And so, or your thoughts do create. So when we acknowledge the fact that we don't take our thoughts lightly, but recognize that they have creative force in them, all of a sudden they become a little bit more important. Let's take that a layer deeper. Number two, imagination is the image of your destination. Your imagination, the images that you put in your head, they are literally a projection, a future image of your destination. Your mental picture is what determines your future. So if you have a positive image, you're going to have a positive future. But if you've got a negative image in your mind, your imagination is that mental picture. If you've got a negative image in your mind, you are going to create a negative destination. It's that mental picture that determines your future. And you don't need me to prove that to you because you've lived it out. You've seen the power of your thoughts, the power of your words to create. And so when we visualize and we make it a discipline, a practice, we're saying, I'm going to harness the power of my thoughts. I'm going to harness the power of my imagination instead of allowing fears to be the image in my mind, or things not working out to be the image in my mind, or the relationship not working out, or bounce checks to be instead of those, I'm going to place with intentionality a mental picture in my mind so that I can begin to create my future. Which leads me to point number three, which is that our imagination is a force. Oh, I love that word. Our imagination is a force for accomplishment in our lives. That's a straight quote from the book I mentioned earlier by David Oyedepo. Our imagination is a force for accomplishment. There's a proverb that I love that says, as a man thinks, so is he. It is creative force released through our thoughts and through our imagination. Quick little illustration of that. You probably have all, maybe some of you watching this, I'm going to describe here in a moment, but in a family, there are certain diseases that seem to be generational, right? And you can have someone that had congestive heart failure, they had a stroke, and grandpa died from a stroke. And so the son grew up hearing his dad say, yeah, grandpa died from a stroke. And, I've always been scared that I'm going to die from a stroke. And then what happens? Dad dies from a stroke. And then what does the son say? Gosh, grandpa died from a stroke. Dad died from a stroke. I'm probably going to die young, so I'm going to live it up while I can. What happened? Their imagination, the mental picture created their future for good or for bad. Now, I'll give you a better illustration than that. I was just on a call with a client today, and he's currently in the midst of a very lucrative, very large financial deal, working with creating a fund and investing and all these different things, millions and millions of dollars. And he made the comment, he said, just in passing, he said, I always knew I was going to get into finance. Like literally when he was younger, he tried to get a job at a bank, or he wanted to get a job at the bank, and then he realized he had to do like schooling and training and all this. He's like, nah, I'm good. But he said, I always knew I was going to be in finance, and I guess this is it. And I was like, dude, did you hear what you just said? Because his imagination, he said, I always knew I was going to be in finance. See, whereas in the other illustration, I always knew I was going to die young, and that's what they got. But when he said, I always knew I was going to be in finance, he created a mental picture of success in finance in a big way, and that is exactly what he's experiencing. What is the mental picture in your mind? How are you releasing your imagination as a force to accomplish exactly what you desire in your life? So on the practical basis, I would encourage you to test it out a little bit. Add some visualization into your morning routine. I know you have one. Go back and watch the dozen videos, not a dozen. I've done a lot of videos where I talk about morning routine, but literally morning routine, you set yourself up, you fill in your mind at the right thing in the morning every day. And so add some visualization into that morning routine and begin to think, begin to imagine, begin to feel. That's another big component. Great book by Joe Dispenza called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Taught me a lot about not just seeing it, but actually feeling it, and begin to add that. It might just be 60 seconds of visualization, of imagining, of feeling that. But whatever it is, begin to test the waters, begin to practice that. And you might start with some smaller things, like don't visualize your whole future vision, but like start with some things. Man, I'm visualizing a great date with my spouse. I'm visualizing putting that weight up at the gym. I'm visualizing, I'm feeling, I'm imagining hitting that next benchmark in my business with revenue or income, whatever it might be. Start with some of those things that you can begin to visualize and feel it, and make them shorter term things so that you can actually see that this works. And it is a big deal. And you can release the power of your imagination through visualization. You can do it every day. I challenge you to do it. I'm curious if you had a takeaway from this video. Drop it in the comments. Would love to hear what's your takeaway, or what you're going to do, or how you're going to add visualization in. Drop it in the comments now. Would love to hear that. Hey, if you haven't already, I'm guessing you have, but on all the social media platforms, LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, I am at Mark T. Keen. So follow me there. You can follow me on my YouTube page, and my website is marktkeen.com if you're curious to maybe take some steps, learn more about coaching, about masterminds. It's what I do. I love transforming people's lives. It's what God put me on the planet to do. I love you people. This is where you should get off the video and go out there and give your greatness to the world, because somebody needs what's on the inside of you. The greatness is on the inside of you. Go give it away. I love you. Have a great day.